At long last, members of the Democratic Party are openly confronting Donald Trump in a much more direct and forceful way. On Capitol Hill, criticism is intensifying over the administration's handling of the conflict involving Iran, with lawmakers raising serious concerns about both strategy and consequences. Our team in Washington, D.C. spoke with several members of Congress to get their perspectives. While Democratic lawmakers were willing to engage and respond in detail, some Republican members declined to comment or said they were unaware of the specific issues being raised. Let's begin with remarks from Pat Ryan, who delivered sharp criticism of both the President and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. He described the situation as something that might resemble satire, except for the fact that real lives are being affected. Ryan emphasized that leadership failures in this context have serious consequences and should not be minimized. He continued by pointing out that the conflict has already resulted in American casualties, rising energy costs, and increased economic strain. According to him, the lack of coordination with allies and the absence of public consultation highlight significant shortcomings in decision-making at the highest level. Next, Ilhan Omar shared her concerns, describing the current leadership approach as deeply troubling on both national and international stages. She expressed the view that the situation reflects poorly on U.S. credibility and called for changes in leadership to restore confidence. Omar also addressed the response from international partners, noting that allies were not adequately consulted before key decisions were made. As a result, support from organizations like NATO has been limited, which she described as both predictable and concerning. We also spoke with Eugene Vindman, who raised questions about the level of preparedness and expertise within the administration. He suggested that there appears to be a gap between the complexity of the situation and the leadership's ability to address it effectively. On the international front, the closure of the Strait of Hormuz has had widespread economic implications, disrupting global supply chains and contributing to rising fuel prices. Lawmakers pointed out that these developments were foreseeable and could have been mitigated with a more coordinated approach. Discussions also touched on the role of Israel and its leadership under Benjamin Netanyahu. Some lawmakers expressed concern about the extent to which U.S. foreign policy decisions may align with external interests, emphasizing that American policy should ultimately prioritize domestic interests and stability. When Republican Congressman Tim Burchett was asked about reports of political fundraising connected to military events, he stated that he had not seen the information and therefore could not comment, reflecting a broader pattern of limited engagement from some members on these issues. Meanwhile, rising Democratic figure Yasemin Ansari delivered particularly strong remarks, arguing that current decisions are placing American lives at risk and lack sufficient justification. She stressed that the American public deserves clear explanations, especially when military involvement escalates. Ansari also highlighted the broader humanitarian and geopolitical consequences, noting that conflicts in the region have affected multiple countries and displaced civilians, while also leaving Americans abroad in uncertain situations. At the same time, tensions continue to rise across the region, with increased military activity and concerns about further escalation. Economic impacts are also being felt globally, particularly in energy and supply markets tied to the Middle East. Despite these developments, President Trump has continued to project confidence, stating that operations are proceeding successfully and reiterating concerns about potential nuclear threats from Iran. However, critics argue that these claims require greater transparency and verification. Adding another layer to the situation, the resignation of Joe Kent has drawn significant attention. As a figure previously aligned with the administration, his decision to step down and his stated reasoning has prompted debate across the political spectrum. Overall, the situation reflects growing divisions in Washington, increasing scrutiny of foreign policy decisions, and heightened concern about both immediate and long-term consequences. If you found this report informative and want more clear, fact-based breakdowns of major political developments, make sure to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to stay updated. Your support helps independent coverage continue to grow.